Dave Chappelle. Nobody is safe. Dave Chappelle attack raises concerns over performers. This is true, and I blame Will Smith, kind of. He kind of made it okay.
But Will Smith isn't just some nobody who's going up to tackle him.
Nope. So, and I blame maybe...
Well, but the question is, like, Will Smith just, like, got on stage. So did that tell... And then, like, we had the Olivia Wilde, Jason Sudeikis. Like,
there was also...
Did people just start feeling like that's okay?
Did people just start realizing, like, that these events are not actually very secure?
It's a physical place that you can actually climb up.
They're like, oh, wait, I thought this would be very difficult, but it turns out it's extremely easy to get on stage.
Now all the security companies are going to have to start doing like new procedures on like
in some ways,
practicing for
I blame
stages.
Travis Scott because he's encouraged violence at his concerts and like wanted people to rush the stage. Like they've been, I feel like we've been approaching this for a little while. I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner.
There's also the incident where Mike Tyson was at a comedy club and got like approached by like a guy with a gun, and Tyson had to like talk the dude down in the comedy club. This was like a couple of weeks ago. So it says, perhaps the biggest recurring theme in comedy over the past several years has been stand-ups lamenting that performing is no longer a creative safe space. It's a creative space. It's a safe space. It's a physical unsafe space is what they're saying. Like that some fans are policing edgy content, ever ready to tweet about a performer who makes a joke that crossed perceived lines. Many have taken to confiscating phones before a performance. I mean, that's not about that. That's about financial reasons. Dave Chappelle does that so that the stuff doesn't get out on the internet when he has specials that are going to come out. It says, perhaps convinced that the biggest threat they faced were secretly hidden Galaxy and iPhones. I like how they were very amicable and didn't just label it as iPhone or Galaxy. They made you believe that both of them could be something that somebody would sneak into one of these events.
Someone has to record these attacks.
Yes. So it says, the world was shocked as Will Smith assaulted Chris Rock on stage at the Oscars in March. In another breach of stage security, albeit not a comedian attack during the performance, Olivia Wilde was confronted at CinemaCon in Las Vegas last month by a process server issuing custody papers from Jason Sudeikis, who says he was unaware of the documents which were served to her in such a fashion.
I told this to Brett, I would not have known she was like doing anything with any movie if this moment hadn't have happened.
Yeah, now people are going to go see. I know the name of the movie now. It's called Don't Worry, Darling, and I only know that because of covering this story.
Do you think she asked Jason to?
We could be in this new.
I have like
Is it that deep of
sometimes
a psyop
I have a
on
deep
us?
conspiracy theory that like he is like he was trying to like help her in a weird way, and he's like, this will get her coverage, or like she knew
we covered that article that said it's highly unlikely,
or she
that
knew this was
didn't.
coming and like somehow got to the process server through her team. Like, I will be on stage. It will be me in the blue blazer. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm saying like we're in like. Do you remember like the there's all these like viral moments that go online which you find out later were planned. The one that's coming to my mind, which was the Twisted Tea thing, but that's not what it was. They just capitalized on the marketing. But there's things where you find out later, like the KFC with the 7 herbs and spices on their Twitter account that turned out to be like planned.
I don't remember that one, but like a lot of this stuff is just a stunt, and so like that's why like the Chris Rock assault thing, because it was someone who seems like irrelevant, to me seems more like someone realizing that these places are very easy to access. The Will Smith thing we debated to death, and also the Olivia Wilde thing. Like it's hard for me not to think that they somewhat served a function in terms of publicity for the things that they were doing.
That's what I'm
would
saying.
not have known Olivia Wilde had a movie coming out except for this.
In a world where phones have cameras and cameras are now everywhere, the whole world is a stage to these people. And if they want to market their movie, do they go to the studio for that $150 million marketing budget, or do they just do something ridiculous that gets them publicity here and then doesn't even have to be equated into the financial concerns of the movie? Way easier to plan and way harder to prove that. In like people like me have a natural aversion to like written article marketing, meaning like, this movie looks so good, here's why. I'm like, well, they paid for that article for the most part. Like a lot of times you're like, okay, that studio is in, it's owned by Disney, so that's why they're writing nice articles about this show or this movie. This type of thing obfuscates and makes it harder to tell what's real and what isn't, but still serves the same purpose of making that product visible to the forefront of your mind. Like I said, I wouldn't have known the name of that movie if it wasn't for the Olivia Wilde thing happening. And it says, but it also, I have to worry about whether this has to do with just the death of comedy in general, as far as people being able to take a joke. because I do think that that's a concern. Yesterday, it was theorized that it was just a crazy person who did this, who attacked the stage. Now they're saying that
there's never no reason. I mean, even someone who is mentally ill, they have a rationalization.
Well, this guy has
somewhere in their mind.
This guy has like a song about Dave Chappelle on his SoundCloud.
He's obsessed with him in some
Yeah, so it says Dave Chappelle has a Dave Chappelle rap about folks being a joke. That's the attacker has that song. It says the same guy who allegedly rushed Dave Chappelle on stage also used the comedian as the inspiration behind his own rap career, naming a song after Dave Chappelle. You heard that right. Isaiah Lee, the 23-year-old allegedly responsible for the attack, is a self-proclaimed rapper by the name of No Name Trapper, which is clever. He actually has a song on his 2020 album titled Dave Chappelle on Spotify.
His album is titled after
the song is titled a song is titled Dave Chappelle.
Play it?
We can't play it.
No.
He has a decent social media following of 32,000 followers and only follows 80 people, one of which is Dave. So I thought initially it was just kind of somebody who really liked Dave Chappelle, but then there's another article that says,
what does it say in his song? Does he talk about him positively in his song?
I don't know.
We didn't stream it.
I didn't stream it. But it says, now they're saying that the rapper who tried to kill Dave Chappelle, I don't know. Can you consider it attempted murder if he had a weapon?
Yeah, if he had a weapon, you could definitely make it attempted murder. I don't think.
So it says.
What did he have? What was his weapon?
He had. I think we have the pictures of it here. He had a.
It was a fake gun that was actually a knife.
Yes, if you look at it right there, it's on screen.
I don't know how that looks.
He just wanted to sort of cover all of his bases.
Wait, is that it?
Yep, you can see it on screen. So basically what it is
what?
That's yes. He got that into the show somehow.
So
it's a replica gun with so it's like if something ever looked at, if you look at it, for the people listening to the show, if you could look at something and think unhinged, this is kind of it.
Now, do we regulate guns or do we regulate knives?
Bayonets.
Oh, I forgot.
You regulate bayonets.
Wow, they're bringing
which are probably already regulated, but I don't think that a crazy person who wants to kill Dave Chappelle
I
even
cannot
cares.
believe bayonets are coming back into fashion. The American Revolution is stoked.
Dude, so hot right. Bayonets, so hot right now.
Oh my god.
Dave Chappelle's Hollywood
Call Vogue and the NRA.
Dave Chappelle's Hollywood Bowl set was reportedly a politically charged event with jokes about abortion, Russia, LGBTQ community. If the jokes were about abortion, he was.
I thought he was done talking about the LGBT community. That was his whole special.
No, but that's what they're saying here is that he made jokes about that. It says during his set at the Hollywood Bowl for Netflix as a joke, comedian Dave Chappelle was attacked on stage. And says according to a report from Vanity Fair, Chappelle's set, which featured appearances from comedians Jeff Ross, Michelle Wolf, Jimmy Carr, Sebastian, and Jon Stewart. So Jon Stewart's probably politics, right? Very politics. Seems at odds with itself, pivoting wildly between Supreme Court takedowns and rallying cries against cancel culture. So he's kind of covering all his. It's just coming back into. I feel like we're coming fully back around to subversive and antagonistic humor.
I don't know.
Being
I mean, as
again.
much as we were patting Dave Chappelle on the back yesterday, for doubling down after the attack on, his humor and, his right to say what he wants to say, I still think this is more of the cancel culture, the product thing than actually like saying anything subversive, saying anything that's actually challenging people's beliefs.
Cancel culture, the product is going to be exclusively peddled by people who can afford to be part of cancel culture, the product.
Mm-hmm.
Basically they're saying that the guy who tried to kill Dave Chappelle had many trans friends, so that did end up playing a role in it. I don't know if Dave
Why is
knew
this
that.
public information?
It's
also, like, how are they fact checking that?
It says according to the Los Angeles. It says on Tuesday night. Let's see, where did I have this down here further? Isaiah Lee, also known as No Name Trapper, his artist pseudonym. He's an inexperienced rapper who has previously released a song on Donald Trump, Dave Chappelle, and has the trans flag on his Spotify channel. So some of Chappelle's jokes have sparked outrage in the transgender community, prompting employees at Netflix to organize a walkout in protest. It also probably made them the most money they made all year last year. And then I don't know if Netflix profits from those events, like the Netflix is a joke festivals, but I assume that they do. It says he subsequently disclosed that he's received multiple death threats from the transgender individuals and their allies. Although no reason for the attack has been established, The suspect Isaiah Lee intended to gravely injure or murder Chappelle. The authorities claimed was equipped with an imitation pistol and included a knife. Very, very not
Do they have
good.
to show the picture of him from his Instagram story like that?
So it says first he tackled Dave, and Dave put up a bit of a resistance. So the dude tried to run off. Said Brandon Brown, a Los Angeles film worker. And then there's the thing. It says Dave Chappelle got caught on audio tape saying, "I felt good. My friends broke his arm." So they broke this dude's arm. It was like Busta Rhymes and I forget who the other one was. Jamie Foxx like hit this dude after he got
after he attacked someone on stage.
Yes,
like not irrational.
No,
the picture is so disturbing. His arm is literally like really backwards. Gross. Also, I just want to mention this guy had his nails painted black, and that's a red flag.
Yep.
That's the red flag.
You can see his arm right there in the photo.
If you're many red flags.
That should have been the first warning sign. I'm just saying.
He entered the comedy club and they're like, black nail polish, gotta go.
Yeah.
So Netflix issued their statement where they basically say we deeply care about the safety of our creators, and we strongly defend the right of a stand-up comedian to perform on stage without fear of violence. We just don't give security. No, they didn't say that last part, but that's what it feels like, right? Like, where's the security at these events?
Where's the Secret Service for comedians?
Yeah, if Amy, who is it? Was it Amy Schumer? Who got the
she got contacted by
the
Secret
Service.
Yeah.
If Amy Schumer can get a Secret Service call,
that's their jurisdiction.
Why can't Dave Chappelle?
I feel like the equivalent there is like now the Secret Service calling Dave and be like, Dave, you might be attacked, and he's like, I know.
He's like, have
can you
heard
help me?
Well, I'm surprised he doesn't travel with a bodyguard. Like
he probably does.
He does.
Just there's no doubt that there were multiple
10?
there. They just weren't doing their jobs.
This story's weird, man. I find it strange that they're trying to frame this as like, well, he knows trans people, and Chappelle does make people upset with his comments about trans people. Like,
well, yeah, he incited that by making that joke immediately after it happened yesterday.
Okay, but it was after it happened.
That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying like that's why it's still back in the consciousness of the conscious of the discussion, because he made it about that right after the show.
Is that what he said?
Yes. He made a joke. He said it was a trans person that did this to me.
Is it?
No, it's not. It's not. But it was a joke. That's
but like,
the thing. It was
that's
a joke.
who he gets his death threat from. So like, I don't know. That doesn't seem crazy. I just don't. In some ways, like, this doesn't feel super newsworthy, and at the same time, like, hear me out on that one. Like, I am not surprised that Chappelle is getting confronted about his views. Right? He's talked about this happening in clubs. He's talked about because he was on stage is a little more strange, and like I think it makes us all a little wary of like how we
I didn't want this to be the focus of discussion. I wanted it to be known that
bayonets are cool
that
again.
People are pointing this stuff out because it is relevant to the discussion. How much it matters, I don't know. It's too early to tell on that. But there's also a lot of like Hollywood comedians. I picked my favorites of the people who have stuff to say about this. Howie Mandel cowering under a bed says Howie Mandel says that Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock attacks are the beginning of the end of comedy. I didn't know Howie Mandel was funny.
Hailing the end of comedy for like 100 years. I feel like.
I think they see. I think
like a long, slow end to comedy.
But I think they see that the implementation of actual physical attacks seems more pronounced to them than.
Well, yeah, like if they saw Dave Chappelle's jokes as just what they are, jokes, then heckling him maybe would be a measured response, and calling him out verbally from the crowd would be like equivalent. But they believe that his jokes are literally worse than violence or equivalent to violence, therefore they need to be responded to with violence.
There's a thought that like violence is justified, and I think that is actually the cultural marker that like freaks us out. Like that there would be people who think like physical confrontation in this public way is not just like okay, but like justified and acceptable. And that I think is the big change. Like Dave Chappelle making jokes that make people uncomfortable is old news. He's been doing that forever. People thinking comedians are under threat, that's been established for some time. It's the fact that like he was able to access the stage and do this publicly, and then we get to read about it for a while. That is a new level of I don't know, behavioral change in society.
So Mendel says, watching what happened to Dave last night confirmed my fear. He's talking about it being the beginning of the end of comedy. Mendel told Extra on Wednesday, I was watching it kind of live on Twitter, and I turned to my wife and I said, I don't want to go on stage. I'm just really afraid. That was very bold of him to admit that to his wife, who
Very vulnerable.
who probably was like, my boyfriend will protect you. Chappelle was tackled by a 23-year-old man on Tuesday, so they talk about that. So he's saying that he's scared for it. Does Howie Mandel do live comedy? I didn't know Howie Mandel did live comedy.
I didn't either.
Is that a
I
thing?
thought he was just kind of dabbling in YouTube for a while.
Yes.
I thought he was on a game show or something.
Could be. Now, Howard Stern says that Hollywood is effed up for Dave Chappelle versus Will Smith response. He's basically saying, like, we're all, like, demonizing this dude who attacked Dave Chappelle, but Will Smith, you gave a standing ovation after he slapped Chris Rock. Now, to be fair...
Because he's rich and eccentric.
He's rich and eccentric. He's not weird. He's eccentric. And to be fair, the dude who attacked Chappelle had, like, a weapon.
Well, okay. I actually think it's the institutions that facilitate these things. Like, that guy had a weapon, sure, but also, like, the comedy club, I assume, removed him as soon as they could. They were like, you can't be here. With Will Smith, they were like, that was not so good, but we know you have an award coming up, so you can stay. And that's, like, this weird preference that we give to things. Like, we don't have a total expectation on public behavior, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's okay for Will Smith to do it because how are we gonna on the fly figure out what to do when he wins Best Actor or whatever he won?
I think another thing is, like, reeling from the lockdown year and the recovery from that.
Everyone's all pent up.
Everyone's so pent up. Everyone is, like, socially awkward and doesn't understand how to respond to things, like, verbally. Maybe we're so anxious that we feel like we need to attack each other.
Well, I won't go into this for too long, but, like, when the riots broke out in the summer of 2020, that was one of the justifications people gave. We've been all in our houses, not interacting with people. People are restless. People are acting irrationally because because everyone has been in lockdown. Like, yep. I think that's true to a certain extent.
It's
but
definitely
also,
a factor.
Yeah, it's definitely a factor. But I also think that, like, we are slowly seeing an acceptance of violence in some cases. Like, it's hard for me not to think that there's a violence is okay if you're doing it for certain causes, right? And there are probably causes that we wouldn't all think justify attacking someone on stage.
That's the problem with in Hollywood for years has peddled media that says the ends justify the means. That's a very common theme in a lot
not
of
all
things.
Means, just means that we approve of.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. So is this their comeuppance for always being taking the easy way out with their storytelling and using themes like that? So, but this is from Howard Stern. He says, this guy jumped on stage and attacked Dave Chappelle. Stern fumed into the mic. As soon as that happened, did they let him go back to his seat and laugh and sit next to his wife and then give him an award? No, they took him backstage. They broke his arms and hands so bad. He added, they effing beat the S out of him. I'm not going to say that. It says, Stern was referring to the viral moment when Isaiah Lee attacked the half-baked star. I like that they referred to him as the half-baked star. Another one referred to him as the Robin Hood Men in Tights star, which I was
never forget all of his accomplished works.
Much better reference, if you ask me. So Stern found the whole thing hypocritical that the same standards didn't apply. So, I don't know if they needed to tackle Will Smith, but definitely escort him out of the building and tell him, get out of here.
Yeah.
It's just further proof that, if you're in a certain tax bracket, you're going to be treated differently. You're not weird. You're eccentric.
Nobody even had, like, so much as a stern word with him or took him aside to talk to him.
You're not violent. You're passionate and boisterous.
Right.
That's what they're saying. And then
to be fair, it wasn't a murder attempt, which I believe the case with Dave Chappelle was closer to.
There's nuance there for sure. But my favorite take out of all is Sonny. Who's Sonny Hostin, first of all? I don't know who that is. Blames Donald Trump for the Dave Chappelle attack on The View. So He's got very long arms. I did not know that, but because following the shock assault, maybe that might be the most ridiculous of all the takes. So I don't know if you guys think that this is something that's going to keep happening.
Sonny Hostin is a View host.
Okay.
But I don't know where she came from before that.
So is this something that you guys think will keep happening to comedians, and you think it will stop people from actually speaking out?
I think violence is going to escalate in our country for a while now, but I don't think it's comedian specific.
Yeah.
It's just something kind of dark that's happening with our culture.
That kind of breaks my heart in a way. Like
I'm here to be your rain cloud, Brett. You're too happy and I must crush that.
That's
the
I don't think it's sad. I don't know. I think comedians are annoying, and even if they're making jokes that I find funny, why do they like just hire better security, bro? I don't care.
Well, no, I'm not saying that. I'm not speaking to like whether it's good, bad, or whatever. I'm saying like, isn't it weird, or isn't it kind of a mark of where our culture has gone? Where once comedians were supposed to be the ones that spoke truth to power in a lot of ways.
Is that what we tasked them with?
Well, court. Isn't that the whole point of the court jester?
I guess the idea is that you're supposed to use jokes to punch up. But that in itself is imposing responsibility onto them that they didn't really ask for.
I think there are comedians who do that and who that's their style and that's their function. But like there are all kinds of comedians in the world, and therefore tasking them as the one who are like speaking truth to power is sort of, I think, irresponsible and like unrealistic.
And
right?
they all think they're doing that.
But,
I'm sure Dave Chappelle thinks that he's using his jokes to punch up, but other people are saying the exact opposite is happening.
Then if he's not doing that, then if there's no greater sociopolitical, like if there's no greater context to what he's doing, then why are people so why does it offend people so much? Why does it bring out such a visceral reaction in people if it doesn't serve a greater purpose?
I think that he can talk about things that are controversial, even if he doesn't intend for them to serve a greater purpose. He might. That might be his personal, like, why he feels obligated to take this risk. I mean, he has a family and, he doesn't have to do this. He's made a lot of money. But also, he might be just an edgy performer who wants to see what happens when he says it for no intended consequence.
And that's the way I see it. I only say the part about speaking truth to power because that's how I know a lot of them see themselves as people that do that. But in general, there's a comment to be made now that jokes are not really going to be allowed in a context where you're not going to expect something like this to happen in very long.
I think the hard thing is that now we have platforms like Twitter and TikTok and different social media platforms that can create what we might call a commenter who is funny and edgy or maybe controversial in the way that like we might traditionally think of comedians, because they're able to tour and they're able to see the country and people know about them. And, we have made that a more diverse and saturated market. If you're looking for a perspective on the world that might be humorous but might also be kind of irritable, like make you irritated, then you don't have to only go to comedians. You could go to a lot of places that aren't, we don't expect comedians to have the standard for, let's say, journalism or research that an academic would. But you can equate a comedian to someone whose sole purpose is to live on Twitter and make people mad.
Yep. I just wonder why people have such a hard time just looking like when you see something that bothers you, why people have such a hard time of just simply not moving on with their day. That's what I do when I see stuff that upsets me. I mean, I guess I don't really see much stuff that is upsets. It's very hard to offend me, but when I see stuff that I don't like, I just kind of keep walking.
I think people don't have they don't prioritize their own lives enough. They become kind of obsessed with what's going on in a way.
People are lonely.
They're lonely. They think that if they get that one snipe on Twitter, they will be fulfilled by the likes that it gets. Like they need to go outside and water their garden, and they need to get to know their neighbors, right? They need to live away from the internet because the internet is not real, and it can give people an inflated sense of like what their function in the world is.
And it dysregulates your emotions too.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.